The bell above the diner door rang softly, and before anyone noticed the snow falling harder outside, a sharp laugh cut through the room. "Did you see her face?" someone whispered, not quietly enough. In that moment, Emma tightened her grip on the coffee pot and forced herself to breathe, unaware that before this shift ended, one stranger would walk in and change her life forever. Emma had learned to keep her eyes down. At 26, she carried scars that told a story she never shared with customers. A childhood house fire in northern Ontario had taken more than her home. It had left burns along her neck and cheek that makeup could never fully hide. Some days were easier than others. Some days, people smiled and treated her kindly. Other days, like this one, the stairs felt heavier than the winter coats hanging by the door. The diner sat along a quiet highway outside Toronto, the kind of place truck drivers stopped for warmth and locals came for cheap coffee and familiar faces. Emma had worked there for 3 years, saving every dollar she could. Her dream was simple: to go back to school for nursing, to care for people the way no one had cared for her during the loneliest months of recovery. But dreams felt fragile when customers laughed or asked for another waitress because she made them uncomfortable. That afternoon, a group at the corner booth kept snickering as Emma passed by. One of them mimicked the way she turned her head, trying to hide her scars. The manager noticed but said nothing. Emma swallowed her pride, refilled their cups, and whispered a soft, "Sorry," even though she had done nothing wrong. She had learned that silence was safer than confrontation. Outside, a black car pulled into the parking lot, its engine humming against the cold. A man stepped out, brushing snow from his coat. He looked ordinary enough, mid-40s, tired eyes, calm posture. No one noticed him at first, not even Emma, who was busy wiping down a counter and telling herself she could survive another hour. When he sat at one of her tables, Emma approached with her usual practiced smile. She expected the same quick glance away, the same awkward pause. Instead, he looked directly at her, not at her scars, but at her eyes. "It's cold out there," he said kindly. "Could I get a coffee?" Something in his voice made her shoulders relax. As she poured his coffee, the laughter from the corner booth rose again. This time, one of them spoke loudly. "Hey, careful, you might spill it with that face." The diner fell silent. Emma felt heat rush to her cheeks. Her hands shook, and for a second she considered running to the back and crying where no one could see. Before she could move, the man stood up. "That's enough," he said, his voice steady but firm. Every head turned. "You're sitting here enjoying a warm meal while mocking someone who's working hard to serve you. That says a lot about you, not her." The group tried to laugh it off, but something in the man's presence made them uncomfortable. He reached into his wallet, placed cash on their table, and said, "Pay your bill and leave." They protested, but the manager, suddenly finding his courage, backed him up. The booth emptied quickly, chairs scraping against the floor as they rushed out into the cold. Emma stood frozen, unsure what to say. Tears welled in her eyes, not from shame this time, but from relief. "Thank you," she whispered. The man smiled gently. "No one deserves to be treated that way." They talked after that, in small moments between refills and orders. Emma didn't know who he was, only that he listened. She told him about the fire, about learning to look in the mirror again, about her dream of becoming a nurse. He told her he had grown up poor in Vancouver, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs and was often treated like she was invisible. When it was time to leave, he asked for the bill. Emma brought it over, and when she picked it up again, her breath caught. Inside was a tip larger than her weekly pay, along with a note written in careful handwriting: "Your strength is more powerful than any scar. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." She ran outside, but his car was already gone, taillights disappearing into the snowy road. A week later, the diner received a call. The manager handed Emma the phone, confused. On the other end was the same calm voice. He introduced himself properly this time. He was a successful entrepreneur, a self-made millionaire who now funded scholarships for students with difficult pasts. He had been moved by her story and wanted to help. Months passed, and Emma's life slowly changed. With his support, she enrolled in a nursing program in Ontario. The first day of class, she stood in front of a mirror, tracing the scars that once defined her pain. They were still there, but they no longer felt like a curse. They felt like proof that she had survived. Years later, Emma would work in a hospital in Toronto, comforting burn victims who felt the same fear she once had. She would tell them, softly, that healing takes time, and kindness can come from the most unexpected places. And somewhere, every time the diner bell rang, she remembered that cold afternoon when cruelty almost broke her spirit, until one person chose to stand up. Because sometimes, it only takes one voice to turn mockery into hope, and one moment to change everything.